Hi,
Hello.
I'm Julian.
I'm just Tom now.
We are Team Binge. We are here to talk about Bad Monkey Season 1, Episode 5. This episode is called That Darn Arm is Back. Tom? Why are you just Tom?
I feel like the show has morphed from a murder mystery to just more of a fun comedy drama thing. So I don't think I need my gumshoe head on anymore.
Okay, interesting. Like all good detectives, you've given up on the case. You think you've solved it. We're only on episode 5. You think you know it all and you've solved it. And it's time to give them back your badge and gun because you've figured it out. Interesting.
I'm sure there's still some mystery here, like if people are kind of playing both sides or whatever. But I feel like the show kind of shifted where it was positioned as this big murder mystery. And we're going to take 10 episodes to get there. But the fact that we got the kind of big reveal early, I thought was kind of fun, where it kind of shifted the tone and layout of the show a bit. So I'm still digging it. Love it. Good episode.
Sure. Do you want to take the intro again and you can call yourself Quitter?
I'm Quitter Tom.
Quitter Tom. All right. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. Don't listen to us on any other episode. It's only going to make sense if you start here and move backwards.
It's like Memento.
It is like Memento, that the Breath Maker, I think is what they're called. I would really like to interview Bill Lawrence at the conclusion of the show and just get an understanding of, you create this, you cast your kid in it, how much show running are you doing, your best bud Zach Braff's in it, like what's going on here. So let's dive into episode 5, and I can put it on my vision board to one day get to ask Bill Lawrence questions about Bad Monkey. And what makes the monkey so bad would be my first question to him. At
He
that
seems all right
point,
so far.
he would probably hang up and not take any more of my calls. But as you
Wait,
said,
you've got a monkey on speed dial?
no. I'm not calling the monkey. I'm calling Bill
Oh.
Lawrence to ask him about the bad monkey and why the monkey is bad. But I
Excuse me.
guess
Okay.
I would probably have to call the author first. Anyways, this is a whole momentum thing, as you said, that movie that goes backwards. Let's move on. Let's start this. So we ended the last episode with Yancey getting beat over the head. And despite the fact that you're not being a detective anymore, it was a big cliffhanger as to who hit him over the head. We believe the person only had one arm, but there's lots of one-armed people in the world, so we had no idea. It turns out, Tom, it was Nick. Nick hit him over the head. And
Yeah,
we were
Nick
all
hit him.
surprised.
Passed out. I mean, this was kind of brutal. Like, and honestly, I didn't think or see this coming. Like, the way he kind of hit him, I thought he, I don't know, would have kidnapped him or did something else, but clearly that's not his MO. But him, like, dragging him across the docks and throwing him in the water, I thought was cold.
Sure. Yeah, he should have gently hit him upside the head with that shovel. That would have been probably a better
It was a
move.
tire iron.
Oh, tire iron, forgive me. See, guess who put his gumshoe hat back on and identified the murder weapon? I'm the guy that's misremembering it all. I'm witness number 1 for the defense, probably.
It's not the murder weapon. It's the go-to-sleep weapon.
The go-to-sleep weapon, go swimming with the fish's weapon. I gotcha. The narrator does quite a bit of work in this episode. He lets us know that murdering gets easier the more you do it. I don't know. I've only murdered 1 person, so I haven't quite gotten to 2, so I don't know. But
You don't know if it gets easier yet.
that's true. I don't know if it gets easier, but this is his 3rd murder, at least his 3rd alleged murder, and during this moment, he commits his 4th murder, which is losing his phone and murdering his cell phone policy.
Yeah, I feel like that's the number 1 rule in murdering is don't leave your phone at the crime scene. Again, I don't know much about murder, but that seems like a no-no.
That's a good question. Should we talk through the rules of murdering? You think number 1 is don't leave your phone? I would say number 1.
top 10.
I would say number 1 is don't leave your DNA, DNA all over the crime scene, because that's going to lead them right back to you, because that database that has everyone's DNA in it is going to...
Well, DNA is on your phone, so it's still part of rule number 1.
Tom, I've never gotten DNA on my phone. I don't know what you're talking about. So
Our
let's
phones are
move
so
on.
gross.
Let's move on. I dip mine in alcohol every night in order to clean it of any DNA. And that's why
Rubbing
I've gone through a
alcohol
lot
or
of
whiskey?
phones. Bourbon mainly. So we've got the dragging across the dock. I felt for him. The things you do with two arms, drag bodies, open bottles, second arm. God was really looking out for us when he gave us that second arm. He could have put one right in the middle of the chest, but he gave us one on each side. What a nice fella.
He really is.
Anyways, all right. Yancey doesn't die. I was like, hey, maybe the show will take a twist. Maybe they'll kill, kill Vince Vaughn, the star of the show. And this is why I don't write for television. He wakes up in Shook's house, and I'm actually starting to feel bad for Shook, just a little bit.
I feel like the narrator does a lot of work here. He mentioned something about Shook like constantly having diarrhea. Like, is that him continually messing with him? Did you catch that?
I think his point is he's losing so much money on this gosh darn house.
He's having IBS.
He's having like money problems, and he's worried about it, and that's why he's so pumped to sell the house, and he's trying to put off lots of big energy.
But I like even like a concussed Yancey is still not above like messing with him, right? Like when he's saying about, I don't know, he got some sort of like bug from the ocean or whatever he kind of says.
Amoebas go in your ear and in your eye, and this is because Shook is trying to sell the house to these nice gentlemen. All I thought was I would love a hug from Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn seems like such a gentle hugger, really.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It started in Wedding Crashers, right? You bring it in. Bring it in for the real thing.
Bring it in for the real thing. That's right.
I feel like he does another little bit about animals. He talks about, like, do you see that snake there? Because I think one of the construction vehicles, like, ran over and killed a snake. So he's, like, telling him, like, hey, whatever you do to any other animals, I'm going to do right back onto you. Like, again, continues to show Yancey's kinship with animals.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't like being taught lessons. I don't like when shows are trying to teach me lessons. So I don't know what they're trying to teach me here. Snakes try and hurt us. So I'm okay with whatever snake holiday they had in The Simpsons, where once a year everyone goes out
and
strikes the snakes. Anyways, lucky Yancey, he finds whose phone? Nick's phone. So looks like Nick doesn't have to report it missing and go through his phone insurance. He's going to get it back, and everything's going to be fine.
Did his phone, didn't he chuck a phone in the water? Was that Yancey's phone? Oh, actually, it was Yancey's phone. Did he think that was his phone, or did he just literally drop his phone while he was doing said murder?
I think during said murder, once again, you typically drag the body with one hand and you scroll Reddit on your other in the middle of a murder.
How to get away with murder.
Right, and this time he didn't have his other arm. Yes, he was reading How to Get Away with Murder Reddit thread. That's true. He had it in his pocket. And unless you use the cargo pockets of cargo shorts, everyone knows your cargo is going to fall out of those other pockets. So
I'm always leery of guys wearing cargo pants. I'm assuming they're murderers.
Yeah, well, that or they're carrying rocks or cargo. All of those things. Yancey visits Rosa. This is where we get the lovely moment where she's like, you have a concussion. I hope you didn't drive here. And he's like, I don't think I did, which is just I don't know. I give me more of these two. It's a wonderful time spent. He's like, I remember this table. Some things happened on this table. Oh, it was all good. And then just serendipitously, he leaves the room, and who enters but one mean Detective Mendez, who we find out now that Yancey's wanted for murder because he shot a doctor. Not a doctor, is what Bill Lawrence shows say. It's like, Fremulon, not a doctor, or whatever. That's what it says at the end of every Scrubs episode. I don't know why that came to me, but it relates somehow.
We're watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I feel like it says that. Like Nick Offerman says, Fremulon. I don't know. It's the production companies. But yeah, Mendez is just grade A jerk, right? Like misogynistic, just an absolute a-hole throughout. I think at one point he calls Yancey Big Bird or Vince Vaughn Big Bird, and I think Vince Vaughn comes in hot afterwards talking about like Sesame Street. I think that was kind of a funny exchange.
Right. He's like, who is he to come down on me and Big Bird? Like, what? And I did appreciate him mentioning that Yancey's going to be very tough to hide because he's 6'5" and looks like Vince Vaughn. But this leads to some fun. Okay, how do we get Yancey, who's wanted for murder, out of a police station? This is just classic hijinks. Yancey gets a call from Roe, who's worried about him, lets him know there's an APB out.
Inside the body bag. So good.
Yeah, he tells him to stay magical because he's worried about him. I love that line. I'm going to keep that line and use it in my everyday life, mainly on business calls.
I think throughout this sequence, like, we know Yancey has a concussion, right? Like, he's kind of playing it a little bit loopy, and I felt like it kind of went through the entire episode where he seemed to be a little bit more faster and looser with this kind of conversation, like even when he goes and meets Rose's parents later. Did you kind of get a sense of that? Like, he was kind of playing his character a little bit different this episode?
No, I didn't see him go into a blue tent, and much like the NFL, I don't acknowledge concussions, so I just thought he was being Vince Vaughn. You know,
Okay.
I thought he was doing great. My favorite moment is when somehow he, with a concussion, headbutts Mendez from the body bag. That seemed a little far-fetched. I mean, you can't even. I mean, I know he's got a big dome, but can you imagine trying to aim inside of a body bag? I guess you're just headed towards the voice, right?
Oh, yeah, he could sense him. I love his response saying, oh, that was probably not good for my concussion.
Right. Do we need to try this at some point? Like, get together, do a little... what are the two guys that try everything out from movies and TV shows to see if it actually works? Mythbusters? Do we need to mythbust whether or not you can headbutt someone in a body bag accurately?
I think you can. Now, the accuracy of it is probably suspect. I like how Yancey does say, like, a little bit later that he didn't technically see him in the body bag, so they kind of sort of have an out, which I think is kind of fun.
Right. When she's like, we're going to get arrested. Yes. Yeah. A lot of good times. A little bit far-fetched, but they make it out. That's okay. I'm sure Mendez is going to have a story to tell someone. We have a lovely moment where he calls Roe, and Roe's husband, the attorney, who's yoked, takes the phone, and he's like, hey, as your attorney, I'm telling you to turn yourself in. I know you won't listen. Call me when you need me. I really like Roe's husband. He seems like a good dude.
Yeah, it's really fun to kind of see their relationship just in these little quick little like snippets of like Roe not wanting to work out, and his husband forcing him. It's great.
He's like, I just want the ice cream,
Yeah.
which I did not. I could not have related to anything more than the idea of looking at a gym and then going, I'd rather eat ice cream. That's every day for me at about 11 o'clock.
We should open up an ice cream store right next to a gym.
Oh, that would be wonderful. All right, we have some things developing with our good friend Egg. We find out in this episode that he's got some talents, which we'll talk about later. But he is looking for Neville because Neville pistol whipped him the last time they saw each other. He sees the monkey, so assumes the monkey is near Neville. Talks to Dragon Lady. Some sort of romance is forming between them, which I don't know that I truly believe in. And they also find Neville's boat, which is just randomly on this part of the island. Lot of strange voodoo happening in this storyline, Tom. I question it.
You mentioned that when they pushed the boat out to sea that we might see this boat again, and I kind of felt like we didn't need to see the boat here, like for them to then push it back out and then for it to come back in like 4 or 5 scenes later to kind of rescue them. Like, I don't know if we needed it. They could have just done that in maybe like the previously on episode.
I hope they keep pushing that boat away and it keeps coming back twice an episode, Tom. That boat's my new main character. It's called Bodie, and I love it.
But I like it. We got a little bit more backstory of like the Dragon Queen. They were kind of going back and forth with Egg. I didn't think we'd get more of Egg. I just figured he would be Muscle. So I'm kind of glad we're getting a little bit more of.
Oh, he's Muscle, all right.
Kind of his death. He is. But the Dragon Queen kind of mentions that her story doesn't end on this island, and Yaya kind of saying like we don't just do it or we can't just kind of get rid of this because like we do it because we're chosen. So I kind of like more of that kind of interesting mysticism conversations they're having with their, I don't know, abilities, whatever it is.
Yeah, it feels like they are trying to point to the Dragon Queen wanting more. She's Moana. They want to go. They used to be seafarers. They want to explore the islands. And Yaya is more like the little chicken that was the bad guy in Moana that kept them from exploring, I think. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen Moana. I think there's a volcano. I know there's some singing. Anyways, it feels like to me like Yaya is the string to Dragon Queen's balloon. She's trying to keep her on the island. So I got less of like a supernatural vibe in this. I got more of a Yaya doesn't want to see her, I guess, granddaughter, like, I don't know, go to the movie theater on the mainland. I don't know what she's trying to keep her from.
They kind of feel like they have a calling and it's their duty to kind of stay.
Right. I do think it's a little bit strange that Dragon Lady is not just like, hey, you know what? I'm going to leave. Like, she's like, oh, I wish I could get off this island. And it's like, she's like, one day I wish to buy a plane ticket. I was like, oh, I think you can purchase a plane ticket. I don't need to, but I know there's an app on my phone that lets me do it. So I'm pretty sure, I don't know. I'm interested to see what there's more to Yaya that meets the eye, much like Transformers.
Agreed.
And I don't know, paragraphs in books,
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
I had forgotten about the disk drive with all the evidence on it, and I felt like the show, as good TV writing should remind us of these things. I'd just forgotten there was a bunch of evidence, and they conveniently are like, the narrator actually once again does the work here. He says something like, Neville found all the evidence and all the documents on the disk drive. I was like, great. I'm so glad they didn't flash a bunch of papers on screen, because then Tom would have been up for 3 hours trying to read each document.
Oh, I did. They were kind of on the computer screen. I didn't stop and look at it all. No,
Okay.
But they did. They did kind of flash up on screen the documents and everything. And yeah, narrator again kind of did a lot of heavy lifting here. But we didn't know exactly what was on here. We knew Neville found something. We assumed it was of importance. But yeah, this is essentially like the gold mine.
There's disk drives all over my house, and all they are is like, at one point we were given a free one, and my phone was probably full, and so I dumped a bunch of family photos on it. And so if you ever break into my house looking for important documents, I can tell you it's not on any of the disk drives laying around. They're in a manila folder on a shelf that you can easily get at. For
Are they
those
disk
of you,
drives? Disk
What?
drive doesn't sound right. It's like a thumb drive.
Okay. We're going to shame those of us that are not technology savvy. That's fine. Disk drive.
Do you keep it on a floppy disk? Because that'd be great.
No, I keep it on a hard disk. No, a hard drive. What was the opposite of a floppy? Whatever the opposite, a stiff drive, I believe is what it's called. Let's move on, Tom. Please, narrator, walk me out of this. Julian painted himself into a bad corner, so we move to the next scene. We have this quick cut where we're reminded that Bonnie is on the lam, and that Oklahoma marshal gets her doctor husband to give her up, I guess, by cutting off her credit card, I believe is the scene we see, right?
Yeah, she kind of leaves I like the quick little bit that they do where she leaves the resort wherever she was, and the guy that was like serving her said like he'll never love again or something.
Yeah, it's like an Alexander would never fall in love again. And it just like holds on his face. And you're like, it's such an unnecessary joke, but I agree. It landed.
And I'm sure you know this. I'm wondering if like this Marshall will come back. Like we know she's kind of pushing towards the Bonnie thing, and that's kind of her main investigation. But if she's going to be maybe some sort of like catalyst or help for Yancey after all this. I mean, I'm still suspect a little bit of Roe. I think he's more and more leaning towards him being actually a good partner and a nice guy, and maybe not potentially murdering people. But yeah, the way they feature the other Marshall, I'm assuming she's going to be a bigger part.
Yeah. Yeah, Ro just doesn't love fitness, but he loves Yancey, and he would never do anything to hurt him. I don't know why you're trying to figure things out. You hung up your badge and gun. Remember at the beginning of the episode, you quit.
It's true.
You're out, my man. You're a restaurant inspector right now, instead
food cop.
Instead of your food cop. All right, Yancey meets Rose's family. I thought this was great. This is always this is like a classic sitcom setup, and they do it well. The dad's like, "Hey, come sit down, have a beer with me."
Knowing very full well like what he's doing, like he thinks he's being really nice, but he's essentially throwing Yancey under the bus by like not helping everybody prepare dinner.
Right. And Rose's mom has some comments about that. We have a quick cut back to the islands where the Dragon Queen meets up with I did not maybe understand what we're trying to do here. Is this continuing to add to the fact that the Dragon Queen is not a terrible person and that she just wants to, I don't know, sail to other islands and one day be chief? What are we trying to figure out about the Dragon Queen right now, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I think they just kind of humanize her a little bit, as opposed to her just being like this means for plot devices and like predicting all the things that are going to happen. Like it's saying like, oh yeah, her real name is Gracie and she has a friend named Asia, and they just sit at the beach and they just kind of hang out and drink bottled wine together, which was great.
So much wine.
But yeah, I liked it. I like how it's not just having her be this catalyst to move on the plot.
Yeah, I guess I bring this up because this is not the character in the book. The character in the book is like one-dimensional old lady who's just like kind of mean and terrible. So I guess my confusion comes from just where they're trying to take that character, but I do appreciate it. I feel like there's love in the air for the Dragon Queen based on how this all goes out. And
it should be said though, like every scene that Dragon Queen is in, she just owns it. Like you just can't take her eye off her. Like she's just such a presence on screen, and she's incredible in this show. Yeah,
that actress is. I predict a long, illustrious career for her because she is arresting in terms of when she's on screen. Speaking of people on screen, I guess we should mention that. So Nick had let Eve know that he killed Yancey. And so part of this episode is him realizing that he didn't, which he discovers because on the news station, Shook is on TV, and he found Yancey, who's now wanted for murder. And he has to correct his terminology about what we're calling the main bedroom in the house, which I thought was a funny bit. I won't explain the joke. It's for people that love jokes. And... And so, why is Nick so afraid of Eve?
I mean, is it afraid? I mean, the idea of him unplugging the TV to then keep it from her, I thought was kind of funny. He thinks that's just going to now shut her off from the world, like she does on my phone and probably staring at Twitter all day, like everybody else in the world does.
Yep.
Yeah,
you mean X, Tom?
X, well, whatever.
Did you mean X, Tom?
I didn't. I meant Twitter.
Okay.
I don't know. Like I felt like they had. I can take that back. The fact that Eve shot Heather from the weather or whatever, right? Like I didn't think.
You mean Nick, the weather woman, Heather?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't think Nick thought she had that in her to just like cold-blooded murder that person for this. Like she thought, Nick thought that Eve was pushing him to do everything for her,
right? And
now might be a little bit intimidated, scared about what she's capable of.
Yeah, I couldn't quite figure out if he's like scared of her, I don't know necessarily physically, or he's just scared of losing her, or if they're so deep in this and that she was the reason he went this deep to lose her now, it would all be for naught. But I don't know. I'm excited for like the weird Netflix true crime documentary about this case that's going to come out in a year. It would be certainly interesting. Quick cut, Bonnie breaks into Yancey's house by juggling, essentially.
I love this bit about her going to the classic rock key, opening it up. There's no key in there. So instead of just, I don't know, trying a different way, she uses that same rock key and smashes it against the window to break it.
Right.
Which immediately reminded me of Horrible Bosses. I think Jason Sudeikis and Charlie Day do this bit where Charlie's like, somebody holds up like the Rocky and like telling the audience, "Oh yeah, look for the key inside of it," but instead they just immediately throw it into the window. It's a great joke.
What we were confused by is the glass is essentially the size of the door, and she still reaches in and unlocks the door. It was like, just walk through the hole you made. What are we doing here? So, back at Rose's house for dinner, we have Yancey trying to get our Gen Z, the younger gentleman, to crack the phone by hacking or something. I don't know.
If we've learned from other shows we've done, like A Murder at the End of the World, young people just know how to hack everything.
Just know how to hack. Just you can hack anything. It's everyone's constantly hacking. Life hacks, real hacks, hacking off arms, so much hacking. Hacky sack. Yep.
But yeah, Rosa's family is just fantastic. It's fun to watch their family dynamic, and Rosa clearly has a beautiful home.
I mean, this is kind of Wedding Crashers in a way, where you bring Vince Vaughn into your home as the like boyfriend or date, and he gets to meet everyone new. He's meeting the family priest. He's having breakfast, you know. He's meeting Kitty Cat. I just put Vince Vaughn in this situation all the time. It's great.
Agreed.
All right. Let's talk this sweet, sweet romance. Dragon Queen and Egg. Egg's just walking along the beach singing? What's going on here, Tom? Why? What happened here?
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but just think of another show we covered in Outer Range. Like, I was thinking, do we have a new Billy on our hands? Are we going to get Egg singing every episode? I mean, he's got a beautiful voice.
Angel.
I loved it.
The voice of a generation, you know? The songbird of our generation, some people are calling Egg. I like when Dragon Queen's like, less talking, more singing as you go, as you go on your way. She, like, shoos him away.
Yeah, shut up, handsome, muscly man.
Yeah, I do. I think it's interesting. I think if we followed the book, this show is 6 episodes. I think in order to make 10 episodes, they're adding things like this. And so Billy is probably going to continue to... Egg is going to continue to obviously go after Neville. We see it in this episode. But essentially it's, are we going to see Egg turn good because of the Dragon Queen? And are we going to see the Dragon Queen sail off with... I'm going to say Maui was his name, maybe? And they're going to sing a whole new world, possibly?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Anyway.
So you think Egg is going to break good instead of breaking bad? He's going to break good. He's going to go from good bad to good.
He's going to crack that egg for good. Shell. Egg shell for good. There's a joke in there somewhere. I'll find it.
Is the book a lot more like even split between Neville and Yancey, or is it more heavily Yancey and little bits of Neville like we're kind of getting here?
Oh, I think it's more heavily to Yancey, but you still get cuts from the main story to Neville, and he does play a role, but not as maybe much as the show. But I only read it once. I don't have it memorized. It's not, The Lord of the Rings. So, but yeah. Neville rides with Donnie on a scooter, and they're going to get what's on the USB hard drive stick, and we find out it's just taken by Egg. Who's Donnie? Donnie is the girl that Neville's sweet on, but won't give him the chance. Is that right?
Yeah, I think they used to have a relationship, and that's who Neville was staying with. And then he called up this other woman that I guess he also used to have a relationship with, and they kind of have this funny back and forth. This actress, I didn't write her name down, but I recognize her. She played a astronaut on that For All Mankind show, which is like this big space soap opera kind of show, also on Apple TV. We never potted on it, but it's a fun show. I would definitely recommend watching it. But it's kind of fun to see her in a completely different role than what she played there.
You know my opinions on space, Tom. I shan't be watching it for all mankind. I shan't be watching it for any mankind, if I'm being honest. Scooter chase, Tom. I wrote it with 3 exclamation marks. Who doesn't love a scooter chase?
Who doesn't love a good exclamation mark, as we find out later as well. As we're watching this, I just couldn't help but think of like, oh man, we got an Italian Job style chase sequence here, but it does not last very long.
Are you talking about the Italian Job chase scene with like the Mini Coopers? I don't remember a scooter chase.
I feel, well, no, there's not. I just thought in general, like a car scene to chase, my mind automatically goes to Italian Job as like being one of the best and longest chase sequences. Yeah.
Not since Dumb and Dumber have two people ridden on a scooter better than these two. This all leads us to the finding of the boat again, the magical boat.
What's your take here? Is this, the narrator says this, is this dumb luck or is it magical intervention? What's your thoughts?
Well, you could argue that earlier in the episode, Yaya, when she pushes it off, says like something like Neville's going to need this. And so that would be the show. There is some, I don't know. If it was dressed up as a religion, I'd say sure. But since it's dressed up as magic or dumb luck, I have a tough time buying either of them. So I'm just going to say dumb luck. That's what these, that's what a lot of these types of novels are about. It's just like you were unlucky enough to cross the street with donuts when, I don't know, Bruce Willis is driving the car after throwing the boxing match, like it's just that type of dumb luck ultimately. Yeah. So that's where I land. Fun. What about you?
No, I like the idea of like the magical intervention and I was going to call her Dairy Queen, the Dragon Queen, providing the boat for. I would love it if Dairy
Queen would get involved in this show.
For him, I think that's fun. Like, but to your point, like it makes a fun book and a fun show. Like the idea of these coincidences and like, do they happen for a reason and everything.
Right.
Again, I don't think we needed the narrator like throwing this right into our face, but it's still fun.
Sure. Speaking of fun, and what's not fun is when your girlfriend's mom tells you that you're bad for her and runs you out of the house, essentially.
Well, it's like the way it's kind of shot. It almost seems like the mom ran him out of the house, but it seemed like Yancey just got the idea of the fingerprint on the phone, and that's the reason he left. Did you notice, though, I feel like I clocked this. This could be nothing, but I thought it was kind of funny. As Rosa's opening up the door, I'm assuming to, like, I don't know, her childhood bedroom or whatever, thinking Yancey's in there. As she opens up the door all the way, there's, like, a little cheetah statue, which reminded me of the statue that Keeley has in Ted Lasso. So it was like a Ted Lawrence reference. I wonder if that is a little nod to Lasso.
Huh. No, I did not.
It's such a unique, weird thing.
Right. No, I did not recognize the cheetah statue, but I'm sure this is all one universe. I'm sure what's happened. If the TV turned on and they talked about a coach from Kansas taking a team all the way to the, I don't know, soccer Super Bowl. I don't remember what any of that soccer stuff was called.
Soccer Bowl. You're good.
That was the Soccer Bowl. Yes. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised. Probably just means more money in Bill Lawrence's pocket, which I'm all for, so he can keep creating these delightful shows.
He's doing good.
All right. We have Sheriff Sonny talking with Roe, and Sheriff Sonny is so obvious in this scene as to what he's trying to do. I got a little bit confused when Roe bought into it, where Roe's like, oh, he's fine, I talked to him, and then Sonny's like, aha, and Roe literally says oh, you tricked me. And I was like, no, Roe is smarter than this. Roe was partners with Yancey. I found this a little bit confusing as to who Roe's character was in this moment. Was I wrong?
No, I thought the same thing. And the more I kind of thought about it and you bringing it up here, it makes me think maybe Roe did this purposefully to try to put Sonny on a specific path. He wants him to know about it.
So that's why you keep thinking that way. Okay.
But I don't know. This scene doesn't make me think that Roe is bad. I don't know. But I'm with you that he does seem smarter than to give this up to the seemingly dumb bumbling sheriff.
They've kind of made Sheriff Sonny seem like an idiot. So for Roe to fall for this, I didn't appreciate it. I want more for Roe. He's wonderful. And he should be the smartest man in any room, just not the strongest, but maybe the most ice cream filled, if I'm being honest. We'll get to the grave robbing. I felt like the scene that was necessary, but I felt was the most violent, despite the fact that we have a severed arm and some breaking digits in a couple of minutes here. We have Eve and Caitlyn's visit, and this is where Eve threatens Caitlyn because Caitlin has been, I guess she's told her fiance that her dad is alive, and she's also buying things like nice couches. The couch was okay. I didn't see any reclining or like outlets, or it certainly didn't look like it vibrated like most expensive couches do.
Well, she was opening a brand new iPad too, which again,
Oh.
Apple TV show. You got to have an Apple product in there.
Oh, was she? I did not clock that.
Yeah.
I'm just always worried about Caitlin catching a cold. I think maybe a sweater here and there might be
Right.
necessary for her.
I don't know. It's in the keys, man.
Sure. This all leads to, once again, Eve threatening Caitlin, telling her not to visit because Caitlin's like, oh yeah, I can't wait to come down to the Bahamas. And Nick hears it all and does not defend his daughter, which we are for or against, Tom?
Against. Hard against.
Oh,
like,
okay. All right. I just
we-
wanted to get the temperature of the room. I don't know, Sometimes murderers be murdering, I don't know where the line's drawn. Who could tell?
I mean,
these
it seemed
days?
like he was trying to make a comeback with his daughter, and like they had that nice walk on the beach. He tried to say, hey, I want to do right by her. And then, I don't know, man, just all these murders has just, frozen his heart. And he, as opposed, and we talked about this enough, like you could probably have actual conversation with your daughter and figure this out and talk through it. But of course,
Nope.
it's TV, so they don't. They just have kind of the very surface level stuff. And the way he just left this is just terrible.
Yes, I agree. I wish there were more moments with Nick where, like, as he was either entering a conversation or departing a conversation, he just stands there and stares at the other person, and the other person's like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm trying to shake your hand. But it's like phantom limb, so he doesn't like realize his arm's not outstretched
Or
to
high
shake
five.
a hand. Or that was the other one. Like maybe he kind of like does a little jump and looks at the other person, and he's like, "Why no high five? Why are you leaving me hanging?" And they're like, "There's nothing hanging, sir. You do not have an arm." I wish there was more of that in the show. I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. So many good jokes you can have with one arm.
Oh, man, severed limbs are quite possibly, not according to my spouse, one of the funniest things in the world. Top 10 for me on Letterman's list of funny things. Severed limbs. Do people still? Anyways, all right. This is the grave robbing. Tom, have you ever grave robbed before?
It's been a while. But no, I haven't.
Okay. Well, that's good. I have the police here. This whole podcast has been a
Trying to
sting
trap
to
me.
try and get you on grave robbing charges, and it all just fell through in that moment. Sorry, guys.
Almost played into it.
Millions of dollars of federal money to get you on audio admitting to grave robbing, and it all
These were
fell
all your
apart.
tweets to the Justice Department.
I wonder if it's still illegal to grave rob. I will reach out to them on X to see if they'll finally respond. I can't believe they won't answer me on hummus. They won't answer me on grave robbing. Ridiculous. Anyways, for those of you that have grave robbing stories, please reach out to us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. I will be more than happy to read your grave robbing stories on air. I have spent not a lot of time of my life in graveyards. I don't really care for them, if I'm being honest.
Statue worlds.
What's that?
Yeah, graveyards are statue worlds, according to Bingo from Bluey.
Oh, interesting. I don't know that I know that reference.
I think she calls it like Statue Land. Oh, we're going to Statue Land.
Oh, I didn't spend any time with the Bluey family at the graveyard. That sounds like a super sad episode.
I don't know what they did. I feel like Bandit took a wrong turn or something. He was like trying to teach him how to use sat nav. And yeah, Bingo has that line.
Great show. Just it's the Bluey episode where several characters die. It's the funeral episode of Bluey. That one they'd put a warning on the front. You've cried before. We're gonna really make you cry. Anyways, Yancey's digging up that arm to use the finger, and I love there's a moment here where she's like, "That's," because Rosa shows up. "That's not gonna work." And he's bringing up other things that he's like holding on for. I told you so's. Oh, it's telling Ro that they buried him in a full-size casket.
Cactus? Yep.
Yes, cactus. Sorry. In Arizona, we bury people in cactuses. Not many people know that. That's why there's not a lot of grave robbing, because you're going to get stuck if you try and steal someone out of a saguaro. Anyways, he's just a lot of I told you so's from Yancey, and I love smug Vince Vaughn. It's just the best Vince Vaughn.
I wonder what the science is here. Do you think, I mean, how many days has it been? Would a rigor mortis hand fingerprint still allow you to unlock a phone?
I think so. And I think it's in a humid environment. It probably doesn't dry out as quick as it would in our saguaros here in the desert where we shove our dead bodies.
I do appreciate that he snaps a finger to keep it for later.
There's someone in my house that did not appreciate that. In fact, really doesn't appreciate any of the limbs snapping or being removed. The narrator being like, Yancey, having known the Miami Police Department, was a little bit surprised at how seriously they took grave robbing, was just a great dig and a funny joke. But Rosa and Yancey with the finger take off. And they do some kissing around the corpse. A lot of kissing on morgue and graveyard stuff.
Yeah, they're a morbid little couple. But I think, what does Rosa say? She's like, I'm not done with you yet kind of thing. I think Yancey's trying to say, I'm trying to let you go in the sunset. I'm bad for you, kind of like your mom had said to him. But no, she's still in like with him.
That's your trying to break up with someone's speech, Tom? You're like, I'm trying to go into the sunset. Your mom, bad for me. That's a really confusing breakup speech, Tom. We need to work on
so many girls back in elementary school that line.
The sunset. They're like, what? Your mom. I'm done with you. Oh man,
Words.
That's incredible. Tom broke up with me again. Oh, was it the sunset? Yeah, and his mom. Your mom or his mom? Oh, your mom. All right.
He went
the
sunrise
sunset.
with me.
I went out of this conversation. That's incredible. Tom, just beautiful work. So many broken hearts. Sorry, ladies. All right. So this leads us to the reveal of the black Suburban that's been following Bonnie and Yancey's house.
I love this reveal.
This is Cody, who is the student that Bonnie had relations with when she was a teacher, which is gross. Tom, I really wanted this character to be Turk from Scrubs. I wanted I did not know who they were going to use. I don't recognize this actor. I 100% wanted it to be Turk.
I think Turk's a little too old though.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
but I like the idea of he's just obsessed with her,
Right.
following her around, sees Yancey with her, and then he was the one that tried to took out Yancey, had hit him with his car, as opposed to you assume it's Yancey following too close to the armed murder, suicide, whatever it is. So I thought that was a funny reveal. We'll see how this plays out throughout the episode.
I had once again forgotten that that's who tries to run him over and he had to jump through the glass. So I don't know why that event, it's in the previews for the show. I've seen it more times than I've seen the episodes, but I keep forgetting that. So yeah, Cody is trying to murder Yancey. Interesting. Interesting. And now they're all at Yancey's bungalow. This ending sequence was very funny where he's got Nick's phone and he is trying to, I guess, figure out what airport they're leaving from. So he texts with Claspers, who Claspers was also a doctor on Scrubs. That actor.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I want to point out that guy was great in Scrubs.
Did we know him before? Had Nick mentioned him as an old friend or something like that? Because the way they kind of get together here, it seems like he's a buddy of theirs or smuggling something.
Well,
I don't know.
I think they have been taking the plane back and forth from the Bahamas to the Keys, and so that's where they know him. But yes, I found this whole bit very funny where she's like, no, you can't just ask him where the airport is. You've got to recommend coffee places. And once again, it was very funny. All of this leading to the text exchange, which you have some thoughts on the text exchange.
I just like the idea of calling out exclamation points and saying how overused they were, and Yancey replies to him with a bunch of exclamation points to meet him where he is or whatever he says. I thought that was funny.
Tom, are you an exclamation point guy in your text messages?
Not in text messages. I feel like sometimes I do it at work when I say thanks. I feel like sometimes I just throw that exclamation point on there. I'm not too sure why I do it.
Oh, because if you do thanks with a period, it seems really passive aggressive. So that's
Right.
why it feels wrong when you do it. Believe me.
Yeah.
I know. Only
Says
because
the guy who puts 2 spaces after a period.
Okay. I didn't know I didn't know this was an intervention. I didn't know we were gonna get critical of everyone's typing. This leads to Yancey calling Eve on the plane as they're leaving, while Nick is trying to distract Eve so that she doesn't see Yancey. And I'm going to guess it's probably an awkward 30-minute plane ride from the Keys to the Bahamas between these two. I love when she's like, "You don't sound dead," which is great.
That was good. I think Yancey eventually closes out the episode by saying, like, "See you soon." Very, very matter-of-factly. I thought that was a great line.
So we're finishing 5. We're moving into 6. We have, the police are trying to find Yancey because he's wanted for murder that he clearly didn't do. So let's say that's 6, maybe some of 7. We're going to have an episode that's just the dragon, queen, and egg on their first date. And then it's going to like time jump. They get married. They have kids. He buys her a plane ticket to fly to the mainland. She's like, "Oh, I've never been on a plane before." As she's flying away, Yaya appears and is like, "Never!" And then the plane, I'm assuming, disappears in like a magical, you wonder whether or not it died or whether or not she just went to some other place. So
Is this a lost situation?
No. That's episode 8. So then I don't know what we're doing 9 and 10. I'll spend as much time with Vince Vaughn and Rosa and the members of this show, but I just don't. I'm so worried that this is 10 episodes long, and I hope I'm worried for no reason. I just need to trust Bill. I think it's been fun. Like, and there's still enough mystery kind of happening, like bringing in this Cody character and Bonnie kind of coming back into play. I feel like there's still enough pieces on the board where they can kind of move them, shuffle around. Like, even if we get like a bottle episode or some other stuff, it is still fun. And sure,
I'm very much enjoying these characters just interact. And like I said, the show's kind of pivoted. It started as a murder mystery, and now it's just kind of a comedy drama, which obviously Bill Lawrence does a fantastic job of. So I'm in.
Maybe the next episode is them and Neville's boat traveling down to the Bahamas from. Because they push the boat off the island. Obviously, it floats up to the Keys. So then Yancey finds it at a pivotal moment. And then it's just one episode in real time of them taking that little boat from the Keys down to the Bahamas. And all of us watching get seasick because that sounds terrible.
That'd be fun.
Tom, do you have any final thoughts on this episode before we go to the phones?
No, I don't think I do. I feel like I would have liked maybe more Rob Delaney and more Nick character. I was kind of bummed, like, we knew he's kind of gone off the deep end with all these murders, but to see how he's kind of continuing to cope with it, as opposed to him just dealing with the backlash of not successfully murdering Yancey. I'm hoping we get more of him and kind of how he's dealing with it so far.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Nick is ultimately going to be a redeemable character, or do you think he just pushes this to the point of, more murder and ultimately his demise? Like, where do you see the Nick character going?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he is redeemed by taking out Eve, who's kind of like been the mastermind behind all of this, even though some of these things aren't her idea. Maybe he has a moment of clarity and takes her out or something. I don't know. But I mean, I think the guy's gone too far. There's not much you can do to redeem outside of turning yourself in.
Sure. Classic Tom, biblically blaming Eve for the sins of man. Incredible. Incredible, Tom. All right. Well, I can't predict anything because I read the book. So I know exactly what's happening at all times. The one funny thing I wanted to mention that we didn't touch is during the graveyard scene, Rosa points the spear gun at like the graveyard guard, and Yancey's like, "Hey, like he's not a barracuda. You can put that down." Or
he's not a marlin.
Like that.
I think it's
he's
a
not
line.
Marlin. That's what it was.
Why was it in there?
Funny.
Did we know?
Yeah.
Why that?
He loved spear gun fishing. Nick did, and so either Caitlin or someone put that in there with him as like a token.
Of all the things to be buried with.
Oh, I mean, It's a great thing to be buried with if you're an arm. That's
What,
literally the only type of body that can use that, you know?
That's a good point. When I bury you in the ceremonial Saguaro, what do you want to be buried in there with you?
I would probably like a camel pack full of water because the desert is dry.
You're going to hope to survive after being buried in a cacti?
Sure. When I wake up again, because the doctors got it wrong, because modern medicine is a fluke. That's probably what I'd do. Tom, the last thing I'm going to mention about this episode is I love that it was 45 minutes. That's a wonderful length of television. I vote for that. In this coming election year, I will be voting for TV episodes not being any longer than 45 minutes.
Yeah, Prop 304.
Yes, Prop 45, Tom. It's in the name.
Excuse me.
Come on. All right. So for those of you that want to reach out to us, if you've got thoughts or theories, we love to hear from you. We truly do. You can reach us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. We have T-shirts out in the world. You can find them on the internet, I think on TeePublic. All of those proceeds go to Tom and I's microphone fund because we have a tradition.
We're still trying to pay these off.
We're trying to pay these off. I was going to say our tradition is we break our microphones after every podcast, like a cool grunge band, and it has driven us both into severe debt because these, despite their quality, they are expensive. Tom, what did I miss?
Yes, you can follow us at Team Binge or at Team Binge Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, respectively. And yeah, let us know what you think of the show. It's been a lot of fun, and I can't wait for the final half.
Sure. And if you've got other recommendations, we've got 5 more episodes of this. We've got some ideas on what we're going to do next, but we love to hear from you. So for Team Binge, I have been Julian.
I'm back to Gumshoe Tom. I'm Gumshoe Tom. Goodbye, everybody.
He's not a quitter. Look at that. Came back at the end. Incredible.